should be on right now. Go ahead.
We are here live. Beer God Presents Subject Matter Podcast. This is a very special interview today. Before I get started, shout out to our sponsor, Twisted Tea. They slap so good, don't you agree? We got my man Funeral Man here, Maurice, aka the Funeral Man.
Hey man, what's good, man? Torture Talk, you know what it is.
Now, I'm not going to get into the whole origin story of how we met and how long we've known each other. I'm just, for people who don't know who you are, a good friend of mine, business partner. We met through music many, many years ago. And we don't always agree on things. We don't always have the same views on things, but it's a mutual respect there. So on Facebook, a lot of people see things, and a lot of times I get called about things, he gets called about things. And battle rap, people hit him up and they be like, yo, your man Beer God is bugging. He this, he that, he said that, I lost, who he think he is, stuff like that. So people call themselves telling on me to him in battle rap. But then with politics and relationship stuff, people call me like, yo, what's up with your man Funeral Man? He a Trump supporter? What's up with your man Funeral Man? He hate black women? So I decided I needed to do this interview to talk about these two subjects. We want to start with the black woman subject first and foremost. Now, I know that you have dealt with your share of black women.
Oh, yeah.
In relationships and dating and stuff like that. I think the perception that people have of you based on certain Facebook posts is that you hate black women. So first of all, let's clear the narrative on that. You know what I'm saying? How do you feel about black women?
Here's the thing, man. And this is what bothers me about people is they latch on to something you say and they carry that over in every conversation. And it's like, I never said that I hate black women, or I never said that I don't like black women. I just hold women, and it just so happens to be black women in the conversation at the time, accountable for the things that they do and say. And a lot of men, especially us black men, we are too scared to hold black women accountable. They sure enough love to hold us accountable for a lot of things that we do and say. So why is it that it's a problem when I hold a black woman accountable? That's not fair. So this is why. But I get the backlash and the hate of it because it's like, oh, how can you say that? Well, this is the truth. It's not like I'm saying, I don't know, this girl is just ugly. No, I'm saying you are a big woman. Why are you wearing this type of stuff out in public? When you know you're going to get backlash. Okay, I get it. You feel good. But at the same time, dress appropriate. You don't see me coming out with skinny jeans on where you can see my junk or whatever. So I don't hate black women. I never did. You know what I'm saying? That's just the perception that people, come off with. But it's not good.
So I've noticed with women that have commented on your posts and your comments, they say that they think you have a insecurity about yourself, and that is why they feel like you attack black women. You pretty much just, stated your case that you want to hold the black woman accountable for certain things, certain actions, and it's like some people kind of take their own narrative and run with it. Mm-hmm. So do you think that it's a thing where you are just speaking what needs to be said, or do you think that it's a little personal?
That's a good question. I'm not insecure at all. I was never. Here's the thing. Insecurity comes from being hurt or being done dirty by someone. Let's just be clear, and I want people to understand this about women and about me. There's too many women in the world for me to ever feel like I can never find another woman. Mm-hmm. So when a woman says that I'm insecure and this is the reason why I lash out at women. That's not the case. The case is I tell people what it is. And if I don't like something, I'm not going to pretend like I like it. Mm-hmm. If I see something that a woman is doing wrong, or I believe it's wrong, then I'm going to speak on it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm insecure. I mean, if you post something and you say, what you think about this, and I give my opinion and you get mad, how is that my fault? Mm-hmm. When you are asking for an opinion. Mm-hmm. So just because I don't agree with your opinion doesn't mean that, I'm insecure. I'm far from an insecure person.
So do you think that it's not maybe what you're saying, but how you saying it? Do you ever think it's like, if you made a post and you say, for example, like the clothes, whatever, right? Yeah. Like, instead of saying, well, why do black women want the wrong type of attention from men, but dress this way to get that type of attention, instead of saying, why is it that some black women dress this way? Because I feel like some black women feel like when you don't separate it, like that little slight difference of wording makes it seem as though you're attacking all black women.
Okay, so I think that people need to start recognizing, just because somebody doesn't put a word in there doesn't mean that you're generalizing everybody. Because I don't know every black woman in the world, so I shouldn't have to be obligated to put some in a sentence. Which I get it, I do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like that doesn't matter to certain people. But my thing is, the problem I think people have with me is they scared to have an open dialogue and a conversation about things that they disagree with. It's like people already have this answer already. They have these preset answers already for everything. Even if you didn't even ask the question yet, it's already in preset answer. So as soon as you say something that they totally don't agree with, that's when they go off. So to answer your question, I get it when people say that. But at the same time, it's very intriguing when you don't say it, because it brings people in and asks. All I want is people to ask me why you believe that. Then we can have a conversation. But I'm not going to generalize every black woman, because I don't just talk about black women. I talk about all women. But it's just the fact that most black women see me as a black man, and they say, well, how can you say that? One girl said, well, your mother's black. So what does my mother have to do with her being black, with you out here twerking on camera? What does my mom have to do with you twerking on camera? That doesn't even equal up. But again, people create their own narrative, and that's what they do. They bring it together and they say, okay, well, if you speak on black women, no matter what they do, then your mom's black and your aunt's black. You must be speaking about them too. No.
I think that it's also a thing where some of them feel like their life is their life. They can do what they want to do, and they look at it like, who are you to say anything about what it is they're doing? Even if you're not singling out, you're not saying, hey, Pamela Johnson, why are you dressing like this? But you make these posts saying you don't want this type of attention. I think sometimes some people just want to have a problem with something, and then I also think that when a person speaks truth, that is somebody else's truth. Sometimes they take offense because they can relate to it, and they, even though you might not personally be talking to them, they feel as though you're talking to them because they're your friend on Facebook, or they know you personally, or your post just happened to come down their timeline, so they feel like it's a personal attack on them. So I get what you mean. I also feel like because black women are mentioned more than any other race of women that I can think of in your comments and your posts, I think that some women are looking like, well, how come he ain't say nothing about, Asian women? Or how come he ain't saying about Spanish women? Like he's quick to put out something about the black woman. Like, what about the others? So it kind of creates this thing where it's like, he must not like his own kind of woman or something like that. Or he must think he better. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of women that probably said that you think you better, or you think you this, or whatever the case may be.
Now, okay, so let me speak on that, because, see, again, you got 10,000 people in the room and 5,000 of them are, or 2,000 of them are screaming that you're wrong, just because they scream the loudest doesn't mean that they're right. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's the case when it comes to me and Facebook, with 5 black women on there would say, oh, you don't like black women, and the rest of the black women, all 3,000 of them would disagree, but they just don't speak on it. And my problem with that is, like, so if you got somebody like that says they don't agree with something I say, right? And 9 times out of 10, they'll say that. But one of my major problems is I talk good about black women too, and no one ever says anything. And not to say that I'm seeking attention by saying negative things or saying things they don't agree with. It's just the fact that when I do talk good, no one says, the same girls that say, oh, you talk bad about black women all the time, they don't never comment on things that I say about black women that are good. And I have more posts about good things that black women have done than bad. But they focus on just a little bit of things that they disagree with, and they blow it up. And it's not, it's just, I don't know, it's just corny to me. And I don't think they should do that. But at the same time, I mean, people could do what they want. Now, to answer your first question, I think you said that something about how women, they want to just live their life how they want to live it. See, the major problem that you have with that is you on social media. You can't live your life how you want to live it on social media.
Don't want to be criticized under a microscope.
Because that's a stage. Social media is a stage. And I hope everybody understands what I'm saying. Social media is a stage. It depends on how you present yourself on that stage. And a lot of women nowadays, they do these challenges and they get mad when they get blowback from people. Well, you put yourself on that stage and you open the door for that. If you don't want them type of criticisms, then get off of social media. You know what I'm saying? And that's the best way I can put it. I can't put it no other way. If you don't want to be criticized, get off social media. And do something privately where you do an OnlyFans. Do something privately where you can get people to come and just tell you that you're beautiful or tell you that you're doing something right because that's what you want to hear. But don't put yourself on a public platform and get mad when people say things that you disagree with. Yes, sir.
Okay, so we kind of got an idea how you feel about, you know, the women doing things for attention, like the way that they're dressing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about black women that are in interracial relationships?
That's a good question. It all depends on, okay, so a black woman in an interracial relationship is perceived differently than a black man in an interracial relationship.
That I do agree with.
Because black men in America, to me, is a target on all fronts. Anything on all fronts, we're a target. From white women to black men to white women to white men, we all a target. A black woman being married to a white man or interracial relationship, I'm just going to use white because that's the most common thing running right now, is very underlooked, and no one really cares because they consider her as still someone that supports her race. For some odd reason, it's like that. But when it comes to a black man and he marries a white woman and he really loves that white woman and he take care of her, he's not considered black, or he's just not as pro-black as what you may think or what people may think. But it's not a fair comparison when it's a black woman, because for some reason black women get to do more in interracial relationships than black men.
I definitely think that it's a double standard. I think that even when you look at it from a marketability standpoint, an interracial relationship with a black woman and a white man is more marketable. I mean, look at the commercials.
Yes.
I mean, you see so many commercials
Yes,
with
yes.
black women and white husbands or fathers, and they're
Yeah.
going camping with the kids, or
Yeah.
you know, Cheerio commercials, whatever the case may be. So I definitely agree with you to a certain extent. I believe that it is different when you look at a black man in a interracial relationship versus a black woman. But a lot of black women, not all, because I don't want anybody to twist my words. Not all.
Not all. You got to put
they decide to go the route of being in interracial relationships, not because of love, not because of the connection, but because of financial stability. And for example, I went to high school with this girl, and she dated a guy. He was black, and bottom line is he was gay. Everybody knew that he was gay, and there's no disrespect to gay people, but everybody knew that he was gay. She just was the last to find out, and the hurt from that relationship messed her up so bad that she decided to go a different direction with her men, and she ended up, you know, being with a white dude, got married, whatever case may be. She's happy. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
But to go back to what we were saying earlier with you, I think that a lot of black women in your posts and comments felt as though you were hurt. Like, you might have been through a situation like that with a black woman, and you were so traumatized that you had to start making these posts about black women all the time. So, you know, to compare the two, that other situation with the black woman, I understand part of the motive. Not saying she doesn't really love the guy that she's with, but I understand part of the motive because, you know, they were hurt. And a lot of times when people get hurt, they want to go the opposite direction of whatever it was that caused them that hurt and caused them that pain. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it's shedding light, having this conversation, having this interview is shedding light to the mindset of you and where you're coming from, the place you're coming from. You're not coming from a malicious place.
Yeah.
You're not coming from these black women, they hurt me, so they're gonna pay you through this post. Like, you know, you're not coming from that place. So it's good to sit up there and get that out there.
I mean, two things you said. One thing you said about black men, the black woman and the white man, it's from a marketable standpoint. It's two things that I noticed in that, and that's true. One is they want to always show the white man as the dominant figure. And it's nothing against white people, but just this is just what it is. They want to show the white man as the dominant figure in the relationship. Even if they show the black woman in a powerful position, the man is still the dominant figure. That's one. Two, they don't really glorify black men and white women in relationships unless it's something that ends in tragedy. You know what I'm saying? And most of the time, like if you watch Jungle Fever, right? Jungle Fever is one of the best movies I've ever seen, right?
Classic.
There's a part in there where you gotta understand, even in Malcolm X, it's another part in there. You gotta understand that. But what they're trying to say is the black man being attached to a white woman is a tragedy, but a black woman being attached to a white man is not a travesty. That's something uplifting. And I think that a lot of us subconsciously don't pay attention to stuff like that. Because in every black movie with a black man with a white woman, the black man always ends in tragedy. Always. It's never something that's like, oh, yeah, well, you know. It's always ending in tragedy. Like, oh, and a bunch of the Save the Last Day. There's a bunch of movies I could name that they do that. Now, as far as what you said about, what you just said about you said something, I can't remember off the top of me, but still, that's just one of the aspects of it. You know what I'm saying? I think that us as black men, we gotta deal with. You know what I'm saying? It'll come back to me.
Well, with all that being said, the bottom line is, you don't hate black women. You don't hate.
Oh, that's what I was.
You don't hate your black Nubian queens out there. You just think that basically they need to do better.
I think that black women are queens, and I think that they need to hold themselves at a higher standard instead of just making them all themselves very marketable to a bunch of people out here who really don't care about their well-being. I think that a lot of people go along with the narrative, or they just go along with what's hot today. And I think that black women are at the forefront of these challenges. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of black women who don't do this. But again, if you have 10 people who constantly doing something, and then you have 100 people looking, they're going to believe that that's just what everybody does. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody do that. But nowadays, you're dealing with people who don't do research, and they don't, they fall into the misleading things. And this is what happens. Now, as far as me, you never seen me with a white woman. I don't understand that whole narrative of what's the name? I mean, I deal with a Dominican woman now, but all the women I ever dealt with in my life was black. Every one of them. And every one of them I can call today and have a conversation with. So I wasn't hurt by these women. It's just, I am going to be real and keep it real. And I'm not going to change, and I'm not going to say something because you feel some type of way. I'm going to tell you what it is. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I would want the same thing from black women. If they don't like something I say, tell me. Or if they don't like something, because I'm always willing to have the conversation that needs to be had. And if I'm wrong, I will say I'm wrong. You know that. Everybody knows that. If I'm wrong, I'll say, yeah, I'm wrong about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course I love black women. I don't know what they talk about.
So, we're going to wrap it up on the black woman talk. That was good. But now we got to get to a little more controversial topic. A touchy topic that gets under the skin of many and pushes a lot of people's buttons. We got to talk about this Donald Trump stuff. So during the course of, I would say the end of Trump's term, I would say like this last year,
a lot happened.
A lot happened, you know, especially before we even got into the whole COVID thing and all of that stuff. I noticed, like, it was a lot of activity about, you know, the policies, about, you know, things that was going on. And I would see you make these posts like, man, y'all mad at Trump for this? Or, Trump wasn't lying when he said that, or whatever. So, you know, some people, they got their old school term. They got their panties in a bunch. Me personally, I don't get emotionally invested in politics. Like some people, I've seen people literally want to come to fist fights over disagreements of politics. I feel like politics and religion are two things that definitely separate people. But what was it? Because not saying you weren't heavily, you know, politically involved or following for, but it seemed like you were more vocal about what was going on. First of all, what was it that had you say, you know what, I gotta say something? Was it just you literally were just in real time, like, you know, going off the emotions of whatever was happening that had you thinking how you was thinking, or you really wanted to actually make a point with the,
as far as politics goes, right? So my biggest issue that I have with politics and people, and I'm gonna speak on black people, then I'm gonna speak on everybody in general, but black people has to be spoke on first, is misinformation. And I think that what people gotta realize nowadays, and one of the reasons why I had to interject is because I know a lot about politics. I'm not the smartest guy, but I know a lot. And I know where things come from, and I know where things started. You know what I'm saying? The problem that the people run into nowadays is they listen to the mainstream media. And I don't want this podcast to get blocked, so I'm going to walk real lightly. And that's another thing that we got to pay attention to. I'll talk about that. But the biggest problem that we run into is nowadays all of the journalists that you come across are not journalists anymore. They're activists. So when, let's say, journalists are supposed to report something and give you the news, now you have these activists telling you how to feel. They're not telling you what it is. They'll just say, your president's racist. And then you'll say, Oh, he is racist. Don Lemon told me that. But they don't go do no research. And they say, oh, he said there were good people on both sides. Right? Then you say, oh, yeah, see, I knew he was racist because you already feel that way. So, this is what happened. So, me interjecting into this, I had to say to myself, all right, let me at least put out some things that my people can see. Now, I'm not telling people to go vote for Trump or like Trump. I'm just giving you what the facts are. And the facts is, everything that the mainstream media tells you about Donald Trump is misleading. Now, not to say that Donald Trump isn't a bad person, but it's misleading. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem that I had, and that's why I had to speak. Because a lot of us, we do this. We watch CNN all day. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I can say about Donald Trump, he made everybody pay attention to politics. Before, it wasn't like that. People didn't go look up what gerrymandering is or what the debt ceiling is. Nobody cared about that before. But now that he was in office, they know everything. You ask the normal person about something, they'd be like, oh, yeah, I heard about that. But normally, we didn't hear about it. So, the thing I have with that is most of us don't do just a little bit of digging or a little bit of research. And you'll find out. Like, let's just be honest here, Lyle. Let's be honest, right? You, Banana, I'm just going to ask you. Do you believe that these politicians in Washington, who's been in there for 56 years, who never did nothing for anybody, you believe that they're telling you the truth all of a sudden now? All of a sudden, they're telling everybody the truth. Like, let's tell you all the truth. He's the bad guy. And not to say he's not. He's a part of that group. But to be honest with you, I would rather deal with someone who's been in office for 3 years and kept us out of wars than someone who's been in office for 47 years and all they do is corrupt. Dude, Joe Biden been in office for 2 weeks. He already wrote 44 executive orders. You know when Obama was in office? He only wrote 5. Trump wrote 1. Bush wrote 0. So, where's the real problem at? You get what I'm saying? So, I didn't even want to go on to that one, but still.
Yeah, I think that similar to the black woman comments, I think that it didn't have to be you. It could have been anybody black. If anybody black said something that was in somewhat support of Donald Trump or agreement in anything that he did, then they got called out. They got called coons, Uncle Toms, all stuff. Like this, it ties into Trump, but it kind of doesn't. I remember Colin Kaepernick situation happened, and I remember one of the things that made that a big deal was Donald Trump. Donald Trump's influence on, saying what he said about it was a big deal. And I want to say, like, when Donald Trump said what he said, I want to say that was like the start of his presidency. I think that it was like he had
I think it was before he was president.
Yeah, I think it was like right before or at the start or whatever. And I think like it was a big deal when he had addressed it and said something about it, and it kind of put the pressure on the league, whatever. And I remember, they Kaepernick lost his job, and people were like, "Oh man, banning the NFL and this and the third." So to go to what you just said a little bit earlier, people are misinformed about certain things. So I remember my blood cousin, said something about Colin Kaepernick, and I said I don't feel sorry for Kaepernick, but it wasn't because I was in agreement with Trump.
Yeah.
It wasn't because I was in agreement with the NFL. This guy's a fucking millionaire. He's made over $100 million in his career. I don't feel sorry for him being out of work. I don't. I understand the message. I understand the protest. I'm in support of that. But for me to be like, I'm not going to watch this sport because this guy's not working. First of all, if people did their research, they would know he wanted to be released anyway. So he did the protest after he wanted to be released, and they refused to release him. So I always, with my conspiracy Kennedy hat, believed that part of the protest was for him to get off the team anyway. Yeah. Now people can agree with that or they can disagree with that. Yeah. I don't care. Yeah. But the reality of it is it worked. He got what he wanted. Mm-hmm. So I remember my own flesh and blood calling me a coon on Facebook because I said I did not feel sorry for Colin Kaepernick. I didn't feel sorry for Colin Kaepernick being out of work then. I don't feel sorry for Colin Kaepernick being out of work now. He won the lawsuit. He won millions of dollars. Even me and my own wife have had disagreements about this. Yeah. But I am who I am. I refuse to change who I am for anybody. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, I totally understand and feel you when you say people are misinformed because I don't trust the media. Mm-hmm. The media does manipulate things, and the media does what I would call fear porn. Mm-hmm. People watch this shit all day, and they get themselves all riled up and all scared, from the virus to the presidency to things in sports. You know what I'm saying? And that's a total different. We can go on that all day, but the bottom line is, I agree with you as far as people being misinformed with information and not seeing things all the way around the board. I think that there are some things that Trump did that weren't the worst, because a lot of the people who hated him, they damn sure loved him when they got them stimulus packages. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They loved them when they was getting extra $300 for unemployment. You know what I'm saying? They had much bad to say about the man then. So I can't say everything's all, oh, they love him when he just did the part for Lil Wayne and them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we can't act like everything that this man has done is the worst. This is what I don't understand about a lot of people, but I do see it more so with our people. The man is no longer the president. He just lost the voting. Biden is the new president. But there are some black people, and I'm saying some because I don't want my words to be misconstrued. There are some black people that will blame this man for everything. I got a flat tire today, that damn Trump. You'd be like, what the hell? Like, they will blame him for everything. And it's like, at some point, you have to realize you're too emotionally invested in something that is not as emotionally invested in you.
I'll explain that. One of the reasons why a lot of black people are so invested in Donald Trump is because what the media do and what Democrats do is what they call race baiting. Mm-hmm. And the whole narrative is, there's three narratives that's running now. One is all cops are racist. Mm-hmm. Two is Trump supporters are racist. Mm-hmm. Three is the Donald Trump is racist, right? Mm-hmm. The president is racist, whatever. Mm-hmm. Or just America's systemically racist. That's the running narrative. That's a narrative. You know what I'm saying? Now, what people got to understand is, in certain cases, especially when it comes to black people, we have what they call rights. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of black people don't do research, so they don't know this. But there's about 22 different rights that we have that combat systemic racism. Mm. So when you say that it's systemic racism, you got to ask yourself, right? In the 60s, you couldn't use the bathroom. You had to use the colored bathroom. Mm-hmm. Or you couldn't walk down that road because you will not find that in America today. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not people who are at the top who pulling strings to block this, to block that. Cool, I get it. It's like people always talk about, well, redlining, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we could talk about redlining. Who started it? Mm-hmm. Democrats. So, again, the president of Roosevelt started it. So, he was a Democrat. So when you talk about, when people, this is the thing about black people, and I'm not advocating for black people to go be Republicans. I am just simply saying that us as black people, we don't do no research. So a lot of times you get people who who, like somebody like Maxine Waters, right? Maxine Waters is a black woman. She's 80-something years old, and she's a politician. She clearly say things like this, and this is what divides us as black men and black women. I'm not mad at black women for doing what they do. I'm mad at black men, and they should totally be disowned. They should totally be taken and left alone because they should know better. But let me get this right. So you are a person who runs your district, and your district is the worst district in America. But you're telling me that as a black man, I want something different. I should be held accountable? Like that, to me, that's the major problem we have in America. They split us. You know what I'm saying? Instead of it just being like, okay, you learn this, let's all come together and let's learn something together. If you disagree with, if I say, hey, listen, I like Donald Trump, then it's like you said, oh, you a coon, I can't believe it. Then you say, well, why don't you like Donald Trump? And the first thing they'll say is, because they're racist. You say, well, why? Oh, because he is. Well, why? Tell me why. Oh, yeah, his father was in the KKK. No, that's wrong. I'll be like, okay, so if he's a racist, then Joe Biden definitely a racist. Well, he's not a racist. Yes, he is. Joe Biden, one of his mentors was a KKK member. He went to his inauguration. He went to where he was sworn in. Hillary Clinton, her mentor was racist. Bill Clinton has a Confederate flag with him and Al Gore on the flag. So when people say things like that, I just laugh and I say, y'all love Bill Clinton. And most people, black people, love Bill Clinton because he can play the saxophone. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You like Bill Clinton because he can play the saxophone?
A lot of laws he passed messed a lot of people up.
Yeah, that's true. And I want to say one more thing. Which really bothers me, right, is it's the Capitol. They say, oh, man, it was an insurrection. And black people don't even know what an insurrection is, right? They just know what the media tell them. Oh, it's an insurrection. Oh, you see what he did? That was crazy. He created a coup. We're like, what's a coup? I don't know. Yeah, because you're going off what the media say, right? Insurrection happened. This is what they say. They stormed the Capitol, which we'll talk about that off camera. But anyway, they stormed the Capitol. He said Donald Trump had told the people to go storm the Capitol. It's like, no, he didn't. He said, he clearly said out of his mouth, I want you guys to peacefully protest if you disagree with the election. That's fine, right? They go storm the Capitol. Now, here's my biggest issue with that. Back in the early 80s, there was a woman named Susan Rosenberg. She blew up the second floor of the Capitol. She blew it up. Guess who pardoned her? Bill Clinton. Guess who she works for right now? Black Lives Matter. So when people tell me all this junk that they tell me about Trump being racist and all this stuff, you saying people stormed the Capitol and there was an insurrection? Well, you had somebody who works for Black Lives right now who try to blow the Capitol up. So it's like, come on.
This is my thoughts on Trump. I don't think Trump is racist. I think that he's into classism. I think if you got money and you black, he don't have a problem with you. If you got money and you Mexican, he don't have a problem with you. If you got money and you're Italian, he doesn't have a problem with you. I think that in certain levels, they don't judge you off of the color of your skin. They judge you by the money in your pocket and what's in your account. So I think that Donald Trump is a businessman. I think that he's a businessman that has himself as his biggest brand. You know what I'm saying? I think that if anybody wanted to have any idea of what it was going to be like with Donald Trump running the country, they should have asked the people from New Jersey. And you could see what he did with his casinos in Atlantic City. And that right there should have firsthand gave you information on how the man runs businesses. Most of the businesses that have Trump name on them, he just leases his name. You know what I'm saying? He's not attached to them any other way than just getting a check for them using his name. Even the Trump Towers, he just owns the suite there at this point. But I totally agree with what you're saying. I think that people are quick to jump on certain narratives. They are quick to not do their research. They are quick to just go off of everything that they hear in the news, and they don't do their own research outside of whatever's reported to them. They're like zombies. You know, I get people who they watch CNN all day, and they're like, yeah, man, it's getting crazy, or whatever, and they're like prisoners in their own home and paranoid, and it's like there are some people who really hate this man, like, yeah, man, I wish somebody assassinate him, I hope he gets shot, and it's just like, you know, that's a little extreme. That's a little extreme. I think that you made some interesting points when you talked about, you know, the executive orders and stuff like that. I just think that he has made himself a target of not just being hated by people in America, but people in other countries. I think he's pissed a lot of people off. And I think because he's pissed a lot of people off, and a lot of people share that common denominator, I think is why he's had such, you know, great hatred.
I want to speak on that too. And that right there is another running narrative, right? Now, there are some people who hate Trump. But for the most part, the Middle East don't hate Trump. He did things that no one's ever did. He did things that no one could ever do. And they're trying to reverse that now. Now, that's one. Two, Trump was the only president that didn't put us in no wars. He didn't put us in no wars. Not one. Zero. He was actually bringing people home. So that's another thing. Two, Trump was another. Now, people could say that this could be, who knows what this was. And I'm not going to say that Trump did this because he loved black people. But he was the first one to jump on the platinum plan with Ice Cube. And you know what I'm saying? He went, and Ice Cube clearly said out of his mouth, he went to Biden, and Biden said, we'll get to you after the election. Ask Ice Cube right now, did Biden and them get into him after the election? No. So now Trump got to him before the election and said, this is what we'll do. And they came up with a plan, and that was that. Now, again, we don't know what had happened. You know, it could have got reelected and did the same thing. We don't know. We only going off what it is. And what it is what we see. And what we see is he came up with a plan, they jumped on it first. And that's what happened now. As far as what's the name goes, Biden goes, Black Lives Matter right now, and they're complaining on their website that Joe Biden ain't taking no interviews with them. They ain't meeting up with them at all. So what is this whole thing going on? You know what I'm saying? And that's my thing. And I think that a lot of executive orders that Biden written isn't, how would I say, it's like he written one order I'll just speak on real quick about abortion. Whereas, let's say, for example, if you get an abortion, you don't necessarily have to get it in America. You can go anywhere and it'll still be funded. And I think that, and also funding foreign abortions too. Now, people might think that to me, that's not a big deal, but that is a big deal. Because now you giving people money to kill children. And I know people be like, oh, well, abortion is abortion. But still, that's just one executive order. It's a bunch of them. But the point I'm making is, when you're dealing with people like, especially when you're dealing with people like Trump, dealing with Biden, people say the lesser of the two evils. I get that. Because Trump's not a perfect man. He's an asshole. But Trump wasn't a politician.
Facts, I agree with that.
You know what I'm saying? Politicians are the people in the swamp who literally, they know exactly how to keep making the money flow the way they wanted to flow. Trump came in and he disrupted that. And this is why they wanted to get... Listen, the reason why they wanted to remove Trump is because he fucked the money up. And they could sit here and pretend like they care about black people. They didn't care for 40 years. So they could sit and pretend like, look at Camden. Look at Jersey City. Look at Atlantic City. Look at all these cities that's ran by Democrats. And you tell me if the Democrats really care about the black vote. They care about the black vote, but do they really care about black people? You know what I'm saying? It's been 30 years. We look at where we live at. Me and you fortunate enough to live in a good area. And most of our areas are ran by Republicans. But if you go to the Democrat areas, they ran, look at Detroit. Look at Chicago. So we doing all this for what? What are we giving these people our votes for if they're never going to do anything to help us? They just keep constantly telling us, oh, everybody's holding you back. But they're the ones that's really holding us back. That's the problem that I have with it. I don't have a problem with people not liking Trump. I have a problem with Democratic policies who don't support the black man advancing, the black people advancing. Look at all the major cities that's ran by Democrats. All of them. All over the United States are terrible. Every one of them. There's not one you can sit here and tell me that's thriving. We was in Detroit. Detroit looks like a third world country.
It does. It does. Like that. Like, listen, it was businesses that was open but looked like they was closed for years.
Like, for real.
Like, it was bad. Like,
we had an event in Detroit. The building we had the event in looked like it was abandoned from the outside.
Yeah, it did.
We went inside. It was nice.
It was nice
inside.
But the outside, the whole street though, like all of the businesses on both sides of the street, it looked like an abandoned town.
Yeah, you went with us?
No, he didn't go with us. He didn't go with us to Detroit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the truth.
And that's my problem that I have with us. Us black people, forget the Republicans, forget Trump supporters, forget all that. We don't hold politicians that we vote for accountable. And they keep telling us this garbage. And then we just keep falling into it. Everybody's racist. And the first thing they do with black people is they tell you everybody's racist. And that's how they get black people. That's the first thing they do. But I'm going to be honest with y'all. In the next 10 years, black voting going to matter. Because guess what? They opening the borders. And all of those people that's coming over, 14 million people? 14 million black people in America? 23 million immigrants trying to get in? You think they're going to care about the black vote then? Nope. Nope. And that's when we're going to have the major problem.
I think that we depend too much on the people who wrote the laws that weren't for us, that weren't created to protect us.
That's true.
We're begging them to look at us,
Yeah.
We've been in bondage. Look at us, we've been slaves. Look at us, we've been beat, we've been broken down, we've been shackled, we've been killed, and we want you to acknowledge our presence here and act like we matter. And no matter what era, what presidency, the same things are happening. You know, these cops are still killing us. You know what I'm saying? These certain crimes are going unsolved.
Well, let me ask you this, right? Because you said the cops are still killing us. So I want to ask you a question about that because it's very important. Now, I do agree that cops do kill black people. But do you believe that every encounter ends in a death with a black man in America with a cop?
No, I don't believe that every encounter ends with a death. I don't.
But do you believe? Okay, so I get and I understand that now. But do you believe that? And I guess depending on your answer, we'll see what you say. But do you believe that every black man in America believes that it could end in tragedy if they come into contact with a cop?
I definitely believe that's a fear.
And yeah, but see, here's the thing, right? And this is that is what's promoted by the mainstream media. Now, I do fear that sometimes, but at the same time, me and you, we get pulled over by a cop in this area. A lot of times we do fear that it could happen, but it's not at the height of it if it was in Chicago or if it was in somewhere where the crime, I should say, is out of control. Or people might pull a pistol on a cop, or a cop might pull a pistol on a person. Like, you never know. So what I'm saying is in certain areas it's like that. I get it. And cops are a little more on edge than they are with us. So I agree with you on that. There's some fear there.
Well, man, this has been a great interview. We're getting ready to wrap this thing up. So my thing would be message to the black woman in America. What is that? And message to black people who don't know a lot about politics. What's the message to them?
The message to black women in America is start holding yourselves a little more accountable and being more responsible about what you put out in the ether, especially on social media, because your children are going to see this one day. And you might not think that it's a big deal, but the small things is what impact children's lives. If a child